Demogorgons, Demodogs the Mind Flayer, Vecna the Twisted One, strange labs filled with telekinetic younglings, and gates to the upside down dimension. There's always something that tops the definition of Stranger Things in Stranger Things. Now that season 4 is out, there is still some strange things that actors had to adhere to for production. Stay tuned in to hear about these weird requirements and comment down below if you'd be willing to comply if you were cast on Stranger Things. Since its debut in 2016, fans fell in love with the 5 adorably courageous kids who are always up for some alien interaction and apocalyptic prevention. The Duffer Brothers brought us back to the 80s with their magnum opus. In just 4 days, there were 19.7 million viewers for the first episode of the 3rd season of Stranger Things, and 824,000 binge watched the entire season in just 1 day. And this is just based from TV sets. 20 million other viewers watched the show on different platforms like tablets, phones, and computers. Stranger Things has arguably been the main catalyst to Netflix's success, and now that season 4 is being aired, it is considered the element of Netflix's redemption. This is the kind of massive impact that Stranger Things has had, but it wasn't easy. Let's get started with how the strange rules the cast had to abide by to stay on the show. The plot was kept under lock and key. Yes, the plot was surely kept under lock and key. The analogy is more like the plot was kept in a vault, or as close to the chest as a pacemaker. It was kept under better guard than a virgin with a chastity belt. After the 1st and 2nd season of Stranger Things, Netflix took extra precautions to prevent leaks of the plot, forcing the cast members to be 100% careful of spilling anything during interviews. Actress Francesca Reel, who played the newbie lifeguard, told Cinema Blend, "Basically, they just sent a massive sheet to all of us saying what we can and can't say and what we should refrain from talking about." Advanced screening videos were password protected. In the filming industry, it is common for screeners to have access to the content before it's actually aired for the normies. These screeners consist of critics, voters, or award-giving bodies. Consider them the first-hand peer review protectors. To make sure that no one accidentally leaks anything, Stranger Things footage is password protected. And in the case a leak does actually occur, Netflix can trace it back to the leaker. Jamie Campbell Bower had to bend over backwards to comply and be effective. Very often, even the main actors didn't know the details of their role until it was time to perform and roll cameras. Let's consider Henry Creel, or One, later named Vecna, played by Jamie Campbell Bower. When he first auditioned for the part, he had no idea of the complete story of Henry Creel. As a matter of fact, he wasn't even sent scripts. He was actually only given 2 pages to read from for the audition. His audition pages consisted of 1 page from the 1996 thriller Primal Fear, and the other was from Hellraiser. It was confirmed that these were the Duffer Brothers' primary inspirations for season 4. Bower didn't know anything about his role as 001 Henry Creel Vecna, so he engaged in putting the pieces together himself in an acting method called a mood board, or a mind map. To fully fulfill the secrecy, there were also tech restrictions. First of all, mobile phones are certainly not allowed on set. Some producers strictly did not allow the actors to use their cell phones even behind the scenes. Although the cast was probably too busy to even notice they didn't have their phones, it must have been more than slightly inconvenient. The next studio order was to be mindful of social media posts. Social media is currently the best platform to share and connect with friends and fans. If one doesn't have a social media nowadays, most employers will grow in skepticism. As for actors, a social media account is as essential as a portfolio. But actor social media is even more delicate. One wrong move can result in losing their entire career. So, Stranger Things actors are restricted from posting any pictures from the set. It's another measure to prevent plots from leaking. Physique and grooming policies. To get that authentic 80s vibe that's signature for Stranger Things, regulations on the physique and grooming had to be implemented. The first surprising regulation was not wearing makeup on set. According to the Binger, Millie Bobby Brown was the reason this rule had to be strictly followed. Apparently, after she showed up on set completely covered in glitter, it took an additional 45 minutes to prep her for her character 11, and that delayed the day's filming, because more set back in the next day's filming. So of course, just that mishap can see tens of thousands of dollars down the drain. The next Stranger Things regulation was no haircuts allowed. This rule was not gender specific. It went for everyone, but was more emphasis on Joe Keery, who plays Steve Harrington, aka The Hair. In an interview, Keery commented that his hair was overgrown and gravity-defying even before he was cast on the show, and it all fit in perfectly. His big, beautiful locks complemented the 80s theme and remained the signature look for Steve Harrington. But that's all cosmetics. What about the physique? Well, actors were asked to refrain from building too much muscle mass. This causes some major changes in the actors' personal lives. Question is it worth it? The Duffer Brothers are asking that the actors maintain an equilibrium of being healthy and not bulking up. You might have noticed how Mike and Will are slim trimmed, and that's a nice way to say very skinny. The only exception from the high school mates was Montgomery's character, Billy Hargrove. Montgomery was told that his role did not comply with this slim trim look. On the contrary, he needed to bulk up, which required a change in his diet and exercise routine. But given the fact that he played as Jason, the Red Power Ranger in the 2017 blockbuster, maintaining a slim, muscular look wasn't difficult. It fit perfectly into his forte. Wearing those red leotards also made his next transition a piece of cake. The cast had to get comfortable wearing 80s attire. Joe Keery said in an interview that the jeans were super tight and he had to look like a high school prize swimmer. So prior to filming, he trained 6 weeks to look like a swimmer for his character. It turned out that the Duffer Brothers rewrote his character, thus cutting out a lot of footage. The good-spirited Joe Keery didn't regret the training though, because he was able to fulfill another requirement, which was fitting into those skinny jeans. The following Stranger Things requirements go under the umbrella of be prepared. With the bizarreness of Stranger Things, you won't find it difficult to believe that actors had to prepare for some really odd tasks. Some of them were quite pleasant and cute, whereas others were just plain annoying and repugnant. For one, Millie Bobby Brown was told to make like an alien, especially that resembling E.T. The Duffer Brothers are big fans of the 1982 movie hit E.T., so they wanted to put traces of that inspiration into Stranger Things. Millie Bobby Brown was quoted saying, "The Duffer Brothers told me that the performance they wanted me to resemble was E.T., and that relationship between E.T. and the kids. Matt and Ross were like, basically, you're going to be an alien." Next, the cast had to prepare for indefinite hoarse voices. With all of the thrills and shrieks in the TV series, the actors were warned that having a hoarse voice was all part of the hazards of the gig. Millie was quoted saying, "I lost my voice 5 times. 5 different times throughout the 8 months of filming. And keep in mind, for most of season 1, she hardly spoke. As for others, they had to change the way they spoke, and that meant losing that Australian or British accent. Hawkins is a city in middle America. Actors had to comply with the norms of the time and place, so you'll be shocked to know that Charlie Heaton, who plays Jonathan Byers, is actually British. Throughout every episode and season, he had to mask his accent to effectively fit the role. You'd think it was pretty difficult, but truth is stranger, and it turns out the most difficult thing for him was to say Nancy in the American enunciation. Regarding Charlie Heaton's mispronunciation of Nancy, producer Sean Levy told reporters, "He probably screams that name 50 times in the season, so we could occasionally have to re-record Jonathan's dialogue to make his Nancy pronunciations more American." And that sentiment went for several other actors from Stranger Things. Dacre Montgomery is from Australia, and aside from Millie Bobby Brown, Jamie Campbell Bower, and Joseph Quinn, who plays as Eddie Munson, they are all from Britain. The next preparation for the cast and crew is that of pranks. It was reported that the Duffer Brothers and the costume designer received the lion's share of epic pranks pulled off by Millie Bobby Brown and Noah Schnapp. To return the deed in kind, the Duffers also pulled pranks on their colleagues, including a cold prank on Noah's mom, where they used a corpse replicate of her son to scare the bejesus out of her. Entertainment Weekly quoted the brothers saying, "We immediately took Noah's mom aside, told her we had something to show her, and led her into a dark closet where we had propped up this frighteningly realistic corpse of her son." And speaking of big scares, the entire cast and crew had to film at the site of a real murder. Oddly enough, the mall where Stranger Things 3 was filmed was actually the site of a gruesome murder that happened 5 months before the filming. According to police reports, the body of a man who had been dead for 2 weeks was found in a vacant Subway restaurant inside the mall. This might have been the most hair-raising filming experience for the cast. If you were a professional actor, would you be willing to comply with some of these strange policies? Comment down below.